Hello, happy Wednesday, and welcome back to the Emerging Path podcast. I'm your host, Miss Brooke, and today is episode 5, which is pretty exciting. I can't believe I'm already on episode 5. Pretty proud of myself, to be honest. I know I'm just like hitting play and recording, and especially these last few episodes, I've just been kind of riffing and getting rid of the notes, and I like it. I may miss some points and like not circle back and maybe leave loose ends, but we're evolving, we're emerging on the path here. So today is September 3rd. It's the beginning of the fourth quarter, which is pretty crazy. And yeah, that's kind of what I want to talk about is that home stretch of the last part of the year. It's also, yeah, we'll get to that. So I started listening to this book, which I have a confession. I'm an information junkie. I absolutely love learning new things, but I don't always implement them. So I was listening to a podcast, which led me to a book called Getting Things Done by David Allen. And I really want to manage my life better and manage launching this podcast and what all is going to come with that someday. Hosting guests and maybe travel and managing sponsorships and affiliates and all the things, right? Collaborations. And I want to. I mean, I do. I need and I want to both manage my life better. That's been kind of a theme with giving up MJ, which I spoke about before in previous episodes. But yeah, just kind of locking in with work and my social life and boundaries, which is kind of the first thing that they talk about in the book. And I'm only on the second chapter, and I listened to it for 2 hours on Audible on my walk this morning. And the first thing was just being able to say no. And basically, I don't want life to run me. I want to run my life. And yeah, and in all areas, I want to be more well-rounded, mentally, spiritually, physically, and manage, my finances better. I want to, I want to take life to the next level, and I'm ready to do that, and I want to do that, and this book hopefully will help me implement systems into my life to make that easier. So I will follow up with you on how that works, and how the book is working for me, and maybe it will work for you. Maybe we could do a little book club thing, and talk about the books we're reading on Wednesdays or something. I don't know. She shall emerge. But yeah, the first thing it kind of talked about was having a list of where you contain things that you closing the loop, so you can get things out of your brain and not just have them swirling in your subconscious, and managing it, but also making it realistic for you, because you got to have a list that you're going to go back and look at, and one that you're going to continuously purge, because it doesn't make sense to have lists just everywhere. So for example, I did a deep clean of my apartment, but I still have this shelving unit that I've been staring at for an embarrassingly a long time. That has books, it has an air fryer, it has my tennis racket, my beach tennis racket, my pickleball racket, laundry detergent, just a random Christmas bulb. It's just honestly full of shit. And I want to take care of it, and I want to like be more organized in my life and like have a system for things. So that's one thing I'm going to attack. Also, like managing my podcasting, and instead of like recording a few hours before I go into work and then posting kind of haphazardly. I mean, I'm proud of myself for actually posting and for keeping up with the schedule thus far. But how can I be more intentional with it, right? And not just haphazard. Is that the phrase? And like, instead of just saying no to everything and then like missing out on like fun. I still want to have fun in my life, but I'm like super committed right now to my job that is paying my bills and this, and getting outside. I go for daily walks every day, every morning pretty much. With my coffee, that's pretty much how I like to start my day. But I want to get back into hiking. I want to run the marathon this year, which I'm going to have to start training here in a few weeks. And that's going to take a time commitment. And hopefully this book will, I will implement the systems that it lays out to help me to manage my life better. So I can get more shit done, man. I don't want to just like talk about getting stuff done. I want to actually get stuff done. And I want to really end this year with a bang. I've talked about doing a lot of things for a long time, but haven't taken the action steps to do it. This podcast is one of them, which I'm super proud of myself for now being on episode 5. But again, not to like beat a dead horse, but having a better recording schedule, and posting about it on my social media. I still haven't loud and proudly admitted this little secret of a project that I've been working on. And if it's something I want to turn to my career, and then I need to take that next step. And also like getting an editor, and having someone that can help me create little clips and tidbits to help with marketing and post that on social media to drive traffic to my podcast. So yeah, what are your goals for the last quarter of the year? I love New Year's Eve. I think it's super fun. And I'm really excited about the end of this year, and starting a new year, and seeing what happens, and where I'll be in 6 months. And it's just really exciting. So, and I'm excited to get better handle of my life and where I want to go and what I want to do and who I'll connect with. And yeah, I'm just like really freaking excited, man, about this momentum that I've got going. I also kind of just want to like touch on, so today is the 3-year anniversary of my aunt's passing, and her name was Jennifer Gray. She was 63 years old, and she honestly was like a second mother to me. She helped take care of me and my siblings a lot while our parents were divorcing, and yeah, and she dealt with a lot in life. She was dealt a pretty shitty hand as far as physical health goes. She was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes as a young child. I forget how old she was. I want to say like 10 or 12 or something like that. And back then, that would have been in the 60s. Medicine is not where it is today. So the doctors literally told her and my grandmother, good luck making it to 40. And she was 63. So she got 23 bonus years, which is a very positive way that my grandmother would look at that. And I had lost people in my life before and had been around death before, but that really rocked me, and it rocked me for a while, because we always knew that she was sick, but she was diagnosed with cancer on August 24th, and then she died September 3rd, 10 days later. So it was a pretty aggressive downturn, and that was the first time I was like really confronted with death in a pretty sobering way, and it really opened my eyes, but at the same time I did put my head in the sand for a while after she died, and was heavily using Mary Jane to cope, and just was and then I had moved to a new state. I had moved to Arizona, and basically would just go for walks and in the morning and go to the pool and then go to work at night. And work was really my therapy at the time, and talking to people, and it really opened me up to the spiritual world, like even more so, and especially like living in Arizona. I was in Southeast Phoenix. I wasn't necessarily in Sedona, obviously. If you're familiar with the geography, it's about like a 2.5-3 hour drive from where I lived, but it's a very, very spiritual place, and there were just so many crazy experiences that happened to me, which I think now might be an appropriate time to talk about it, because it's also a great reminder for myself. My interview for a new job, we'll back up a little bit. So I was working for a company, and they had locations out in Arizona, and I was going to transfer with that company, and so all I needed to do in my head was find an apartment. I found an apartment, and and the apartment was literally like a mile down the street from where this restaurant I was supposed to be working at. And because I had my head up my ass and I trusted but did not verify, I was told that my transfer was all set. I moved, got there, went to the restaurant, introduced myself, and then was told that there was no room for me on the schedule. And I started freaking out because I increased my living expenses. I didn't really understand. I went from Texas to Arizona, and Arizona was quite a bit more expensive. Gas was at the time over $5 and a tank, and I was living in Austin, Texas, and it was like $2.40. I think it was like in the twos. I don't think it was $3. And so I was like, fuck, what did I just do? It felt like I just like imploded my life financially. And I like genuinely didn't know how I was going to make rent. And so I was listening to a podcast and was on my way home from work, and the podcast was talking about it was the Mind Your Business podcast by James Wedmore, and he was talking about the death of his father and how he weirdly felt, which this is kind of like a hard thing to explain unless you've gone through it, and I also hate when people say that, but hopefully this will make sense. But his dad was so 3D, and by 3D, I mean like black and white. Like, you go to work, you make your money, you pay your bills, you retire, you die. Not kind of like involved in the spiritual world. And I heard a really nice explanation of spirit, God, source. The magic of life is that this world like really doesn't make sense. Like, we're on a rock that has the core, which is like molten lava, Pele, if you will. And then we're spinning, right? And then we're circulating around a ball of fire in this crazy solar system. in the Milky Way galaxy that is infinitely expanding. Like, that's like really hard to conceptualize, like, as a human. And Lee Harris, who is a energy channeler, healer guy, he said that the like life is like black and white, but then when you put spirit or God, source, energy into it, it then turns it into color. And I thought that was a beautiful metaphor for spirituality. And so back to the story. I didn't know how I was going to make rent, and listened to this podcast, and then was asking for a sign from my aunt that everything was going to be okay. And I was driving home from the store, and I was in a three-lane road, and my apartment was up on the right-hand side about less than a mile, and I was in the right-hand lane. I got the impulse to go into the middle lane for whatever reason. I did. And then the car that was in front of the car in front of me was making a right-hand turn, so I would not have seen this. And the license plate said Mrs. Gray with a heart on the window. And my aunt's name, like I said, was Jennifer Gray. And I got a picture of it, and I was just immediately like, okay, oh my God, like, everything's going to be fine. There's my sign. And then that night, my neighbor texted me and asked me what I was doing, and I was like, oh, I'm like actually looking for a new job. And he was like, oh, I'm great friends with the management at the steakhouse. I was actually going to invite you to dinner. Let's go. I'll get you a job tonight. And I was like, whoa, okay. And I got the job. And so many spiritual things happened for me there. Like, it was crazy. The manager, she was like, I was just telling her like what had happened, and I was just like, I just need a job. I'll do whatever it fucking takes. Just give me a shot. And it was a fine dining, or like casual fine dining, steakhouse. And yeah, and it was my saving grace. It literally was my therapy, for a year. And like there just so many synchronicities, and like I just like really shined there. And the managers knew to like give me certain tables. For example, there was one night where I got this table, and my boss was like, hey, because like they could make reservations and put in notes as to why they were at this restaurant, and this restaurant was known for like celebrations, so like birthdays, holidays, anniversaries, you get the point. And they wrote this like super sweet note about how this restaurant was their family, and that they had been coming there for years and years and just have so many great memories of having a great time with the staff and the managers. And anytime anybody would come visit them from home, or friends or family, they would take them out to this restaurant. And I read that note, and they're moving to back home to the Carolinas, I believe. And so that was our last night dining at this restaurant, and I got to be their server. And we just had this like really beautiful moment, and I just like went up to them. I was like, look, like I've been going through a lot in my personal life, and that restaurant was my family at the time. I was living in Arizona. All my family was on the East Coast. I just watched my aunt die. Some family drama was going on that really caught me off guard, and I was just, yeah, and that restaurant was my family. And we just like had this really beautiful moment, and we all started crying. All three of us, like I am now. And then classic. I then had to go take, and I'm a very emotional person, as you can see, and I then had to go take another couple's order, and I couldn't stop crying. And I went up to them and I was like, I'm so sorry. I just had a really beautiful moment. These are happy tears. And then they started crying because I told them what had happened. And it was just like a big mush fest. And it was just really sweet and heartwarming. The part of humanity and the part of serving that I fucking love. And then my personality like really started coming back to life at this restaurant. And I then had another table that was just watching me go around. He was like, you're like Tinkerbell. You're just going around sprinkling your magic to all the different tables. And I have a very distinct, loud laugh, a cackle, if you will. And there is always a joke because one of the managers, her name was Brooke as well. We both had quite a laugh and could always tell where we were in the restaurant. And yeah, and it was just kind of like just watching me go around laughing. I don't know. And then one night I brought a squirt gun to work because I like to joke around and to play. And that's really what my aunt, she was very playful. And my uncle, very playful about life. And I was starting to give up. I was starting to feel like I needed to get a real job. And, you know, I'd worked for corporate. I'd sold insurance. I had done all these things. But I wasn't happy and I didn't like doing it. And I wanted to do something in the online world and work for myself, but I didn't know what that was. And now I'm doing it, which is super cool. It hasn't fully blossomed, but I'm planting these seeds and it's going to emerge and evolve. And anywho, back to the squirt gun story. I was, fucking around and just messing around. And I was the last server on the fine dining side, and then there was a bar side. And my table was like, I think it was a first date or something, I don't know. But they were engrossed in conversation, like not touching their food. And I like kept walking by and I was like, okay, I've got nothing to do. So I was running food to the other side of the restaurant and I bring food to this table and they're immediately playful, which I love. I'm like, okay, cool. And then my coworker, she was like, oh, can I have the squirt gun? I'm going to fuck with them. I'm like, yeah. And then so she does, and then I'm like, and a lot of the staff would hang out in the bar after and have a drink or eat food, whatever. And so I was still new at this restaurant. I had only been there like a month and a half maybe. So they the guy actually, who he called me over, he's like, hey Brooke, and the other server, Kendra, he was like, come over here. I need to tell you something. And he was like, every now and again, I get this feeling that I need to share this story. And I don't know why, but I just do, and I trust it. And we're both like, look at each other, we're like, okay. And he was like, my wife here, who was sitting next to him, he was with his wife and his daughter, she was doing an exam and found a lump in her breast, and turns out it was cancer. And before she had gotten the results, they lived up in Flagstaff, which is way up in the mountains, and they get pretty cold winters. And him and his son saw a woman digging through the trash, and he gave his son some money to go give to her so she could get a hot meal. And she was like, no, no, no. And then he was like, you don't know my dad. He's not going to take no for an answer. Just take this money. And as his son walks away, the woman goes, your mom just got diagnosed with breast cancer, didn't she? And he was like, like, what the fuck did you just say? And she was like, you need to listen to me. It's going to be 8 treatments. And on the 3rd treatment, she's going to feel like giving up, like she can't do it anymore. And you need to tell her not to give up and not to let the doctors take any blood out of her. And he was like, what? And she's like, do you hear what I'm saying? Like, and was like very insistent on this. And the wife hadn't gotten her treatment plan yet. And so then come to find out, that's exactly what happened. Come the 3rd treatment, she felt like giving up. And the woman also said, and you also need to tell your parents that they need to stop fighting and to just love each other. And the wife was happy and healthy. And at this point, I'm like full of waterworks, fully sobbing. And then he also goes on to tell me that that his son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And so they're navigating that at the same time. And then he looks at me and he goes, you need to hear this today, didn't you? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, I don't know what you're going through, but don't give up. You got this. And it's going to be better than you can imagine. And I've continued, and I genuinely believe that was my aunt, because she had just died of cancer and she had type 1 diabetes. And I believe that was a message from her. Because that day, literally that day, I was feeling like I needed to give up and like get a regular job. But really, I just need to be patient with myself and to let things unfold. And yeah, and it's just, and now I'm here, and now I'm doing it, and now I'm recording on her 3rd year anniversary of her passing and keeping her name alive. And I guess I wanted to read these because I read this book. It's called Signs by Laura Lynn Jackson, and it really helped me open up to the spiritual world and connect with my aunt and ask for signs from her and from my other grandparents that have passed away, and just get signs from the universe in general. And before I was coming out to Hawaii for my friend's wedding, and I was still living paycheck to paycheck at the time, and was about to like literally like pack oatmeal. Like I didn't know where the money was going to come from or like how I was going to figure it out. And I was going to cancel the trip, but it was my friend's wedding. I was like, I gotta make it work. Like, I don't know how, but I'm going to fucking make it work. It'll be fine. And, and so I went for a drive to clear my head. And then I saw that car again that said Mrs. Gray with a heart on the window. And then I was getting back into pulling cards. And these 2 cards I've kept out of the deck ever since I found them. But they were sitting on my vision board, which has Hawaii on my vision board, which is crazy. So these 2 cards are sitting out. And I look at them, and it's 39, card 39 and card 59. My aunt's birthday was March 9th, 1959, so 3959. And I guess we'll just kind of wrap this up a little bit, but it says, since every request is granted, I feel no competition. And then on the back it says, each point of view matters. every request is granted. There is no end to the universal resources that fulfill these requests, and there is no end to the answers to the never-ending stream of questions. And for that reason, there is no competition. And then the second one is, first I reach for joy, and then all else follows. It says, once you consciously identify your current state of emotion, it becomes easier for you to understand whether you are choosing thoughts that move you closer to your desired destination or farther from your desired destination. If you will make the improved feeling or emotion your real destination, then anything and everything that you want will quickly follow. Sorry. And I guess to kind of like circle back to I want to get shit done. I have goals and dreams and aspirations, and I want to make myself proud, not just my family and my friends and like those in my circle. But I want to live up to what I was brought on this planet to do. And I don't want to be like all high and mighty, but I want to fucking do cool shit. And I believe in myself, and I'm sick of having potential. I want to make it into, kinetic energy. Fucking get the ball moving, bitch. Build the momentum and go for it, because life is too short. And so I guess in honor of my aunt, in honor of Miss Jennifer Gray, I'm doing it. And I'm like actually doing it this time. And back to the book of Getting Things Done by David Allen, I want to be super potent with my energy and not just like be busy to be busy, because there's a quote, I forget where I've heard it, but being busy is a lazy form of thinking. And how can I be more efficient and effective in my life to accomplish the dreams and goals that I do have, and to level up and to take things to the next level, to a deeper layer, and be a more well-rounded human. And we're gonna end it there. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe, share with somebody. So what are your goals and dreams? What can you accomplish and work towards for the rest of 2025 and start off 2026 with some fucking momentum? And like, life can change in a moment, and don't wait for tomorrow. Do something for yourself today. Get yourself one step closer, because before you know it, you'll accomplish it. Okay. Thank you.